Do you believe in the devil? Probably not. Okay, I'll make it easier. Do you believe in evil? To talk about The Exorcist and how much it impacts you has a lot to do with your own personal experience with the subject matter, and what you like in horror movies. William Friedkin, a documentary filmmaker, hit it big with The French Connection, a hard-boiled, gritty, and beautifully bleak film that showed a powerhouse of talent. His spark would grow into an intense flame as he got the directing duties for The Exorcist, an adaptation of the chilling novel by William Peter Blatty. His direction was legendary in its cruelty. The treatment of actors and commitment to craft is something that only benefits the hyper-realistic tone of the film. I grew up very religious, so the first time I saw the movie it scared me in a very literal way. The impact of the images and the language on screen took me to emotional places that I rarely tackled at that point in my young life. As the years went on, so many people started to tell me that the movie made them laugh, that it's just so over the top and the first half is boring. I considered this position. Maybe The Exorcist had aged, and I was clinging onto a bias of 70s filmmaking. Upon a few rewatches, I did find the humor. There is an absurd nature to almost every scene. This made me curious. Is there some connection between humor and fear? What I discovered was a similar tone in 80s slasher films and 80s teen sex comedies, or just regular comedies. Caddyshack is a few murders away from being a slasher film, but it goes over the top for the comedic instead of the horror. The shock value is Bill Murray eating a candy bar that someone else thinks is a turd. Porky's was directed by Bob Clark, who also did Black Christmas. Both films have a warm look to them, and this lived-in feeling. They look like they cost more than they actually did. He perfected this style with A Christmas Story, finding a way to show both the horrors and joys of commercialism and the holidays. Then it hit me. This over-the-top stuff in The Exorcist is just another genius element of the movie. Friedkin knows that what scares us can be awkward, that it's almost too hard to process in the moment. The scenes with Reagan challenge the limits of the audience. Laughing or screaming is a natural reaction. The movie goes to the limits to be the ultimate experience. It's a roller coaster ride of a film. Beyond the craft, what makes this movie stand out is its screenplay. The genius of the story is to approach it as realistically as possible. The first half is pretty grounded and almost feels like a conventional 70s drama. The standout performance, though, is Jason Miller as a priest who's slowly losing his faith and feels guilt over his dying mother. Reagan's mom takes her to doctors and men of science. They rule out every possibility until they tell her to think about religion. The mother's an atheist, so she doesn't really buy into it, but she tries anything to save her little girl. The subtle character building helps us buy into this world, and the actors go out of their way to fight vanity. When it finally turns into a horror movie, and it does, you realize it already has you. The final set piece is masterful in its use of space and sound design. The makeup was groundbreaking, and I believe received a special Oscar at the time because they didn't have a makeup Oscar at that point. The first movie to ever win one was American Werewolf in London. The Exorcist works because, like any good movie, it builds a world and has you buy into the internal logic of that world made by the filmmaker. And this makes sense. It makes sense to us while we watch it. You don't need to believe in God, just like you don't need to believe in the Force or Xenomorphs or Mike Myers. Well, the actor Mike Myers is real, but you know what I mean. Movies aren't reality, and The Exorcist is fantasy. On its own merits, the movie creates a horrifying depiction of evil. It fully commits to its concept and asks you to do the same. The impact comes from the honesty in this approach. The movie makes you believe in the devil, at least within the world that these characters live in. Pauline Kael made a fun observation in her review of this movie, saying that the greatest accomplishment of The Exorcist wasn't that it made you believe in the devil, but that it made you believe that Catholicism is the one true religion. Because if they were to beat the devil with Catholicism, that means he had to be indoctrinated in Catholicism, meaning the one true God is, it's the Catholic Church is the true religion. That's a brilliant little observation, and it shows the multiple ways to kind of look at Friedkin's filmmaking and the subtext. The movie won the Oscar for Best Screenplay, and in my opinion, it's not only one of the best films of the 70s, but one of the great works of cinema. It's one of my favorite movies because it grows with me, and I find new ways of viewing it every few years. It's kind of perfect, with its tone, performances, and haunting score. Nothing about the movie feels out of place, well, at least in the original version. As an experience, it's always something special. But the movie opens itself up to deep analysis and multiple interpretations. What scares you is subjective, just like what makes you laugh or cry. The power of art and film comes from the emotions that the work can bring out of you. I've always found myself drawn to the world of The Exorcist. There's a comfort in the shock value, the visceral experience of the movie. When you strip away the rules of society, what they tell us we aren't supposed to do and see, and what's okay and right, when you eliminate all of the things that are apparently taboo, it reveals to us how silly everything is, that we take ourselves so seriously. The Exorcist shows us the struggles of life, but it also embraces the unknown. Even if it's only for a couple hours while I watch a movie, I believe in that unknown. The unknown. That's why life can be so funny. It's also why life can be so scary.